Hey, did you turn it on?
Yeah, okay. I now call this House to order. I recognize the time limit of speech 9C 7 minutes with a 30-second grace period.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. We are here today to debate the following resolution. If it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. When we, the government, think of the resolution, we think of levees and balance of water levels to keep them from breaking. When we, the government, think of this fragile balance between the levee and the water pushing full force against it, we cannot help but be reminded of the force of crippling personal debt many Americans are crumbling under. Many young Americans are graduating high school with little to no knowledge of how to deal with common financial problems that they will face every day in their adult lives. These students need to be taught these essential life skills sooner rather than later, or the effects of their ignorance can and will cause financial stress in the long run. That is why we, the government, take the resolution to mean all schools should require students to take at least one real-world finance class to graduate high school. Now let me clarify some definitions. All schools are all schools in the United States of America. Should require is to be necessary by a government-created law. Take is to enroll in and receive at least 0.5 credits from said class, or whatever the individual school dictates the credit of a half-year class is. At least one, greater than or equal to one. Real-world finance class, a class that gives students the general knowledge needed to maintain a financially stable lifestyle, i.e. how to do one's taxes and things of that nature, things that they would be using in their everyday lives. And graduating high school to receive a full high school diploma. My first contention is that school is the only regulated way for American children and teens to become fully prepared for independent life. Schools teach a wide variety of subjects. They teach you things in math, things in science, things in English, usually at 3 years minimum if you're in a generic high school around the country. And what it does is it creates a well-rounded person that most colleges like to seek out, that they look for when people are applying to their school. These classes are but a sampling of skills and show a well-rounded individual, but not all people use these classes. Not everyone is going to use a calculus class in their lives. Some that are engineers may, but someone going into a generic desk job will not use these advanced calculus. So why not have a class why not require a class where everybody gets something out of it instead of just some people? This financial class would prepare them for independent life and learn how to actually budget their finances, learn how to do things like pay taxes, pay mortgages on their house, things that they will need to do in their everyday lives, things that are necessary in an adult life in the economy we live in. And it's a huge upside because people wouldn't have to pay for some of these college classes that teach them to do these things. Because when you go to college, you're paying for very expensive classes. So it would eliminate a class that you would take in these colleges. You were getting it for free if you go to a public school. And it stops people in the long run from wasting money on accountants because they don't know how to do it on their own. They'll save a lot of money in the long run if they just learn these skills sooner rather than later. Our second contention is that it will increase the mental health of Americans. Think about this. If you know more about how the world works, if you know more about how finances work and how to properly live your life with these finances, you'd be worrying a lot less. There'd be less stress about the monumental debt that you could probably be in. The interest rates, you would know how to calculate them better. You would know how to budget on a week-to-week basis, on a day-to-day basis. You wouldn't have to worry about these things. There's less stress on high school students about how the world works financially when they get out of it. Because a lot of students, they worry about things like, what am I going to do when I buy a house? How am I going to pay my mortgage? It decreases stress about how they're going to find places to live, how they're going to afford homes, things of that nature. We can see very clearly from the housing crisis of 2007 to 2009, it was caused by millions of uninformed people that didn't know how houses work, didn't know how cost works, and they were taking more money out on houses than they could afford, and they were all crumbling. The housing market disintegrated, and it could have been avoided if people just had more knowledge on what to do and on how to do these everyday things sooner rather than later. Life would be less stressful to navigate knowing these skills and knowing how to better live their lives. Some high school students, I recognize, have jobs and learn some of these financial skills through these jobs that they have in high school. But not all students are fortunate enough to have the time and the resources to be able to go to a job. These colleges require rigorous classes that take up lots of time and lots of community service. They don't necessarily have time to learn these essential skills through a job before they go out into the world. They don't know these things. A lot of students don't know how to do a lot of these things before they're actually financially independent, which causes a lot of problems in their own personal debt and how they navigate the financial world. If this financial class was in place, young adults wouldn't have to figure these things out along the way and have lots of struggle in it. They could learn before their adult life even began. And for my third contention, it would improve the economy. That's the big one. It would improve the economy. People would have less personal debt. They would have less personal debt because they wouldn't be spending more money than they could chew without knowing the consequences of doing so. This would help so there would be less debt on homeowners who buy houses that they can't afford at the time, so they would know more about, how to better budget their money in that regard and how much the interest rates and things would go up. It would be more beneficial for them. College students would know how the effects of their tuition would affect them financially over the long run, because a lot of college students just think, yes, it's a lot of money, but hey, it's a lot of money now, I can just pay it later. But they don't recognize how it really will affect them in their lives later. It'll help them with car debt, all sorts of types of debt that they wouldn't have or would greatly minimize. People would have more knowledge of how to manage their money and not overspend. Like I said, meaning the personal debt in the country, the overall rate would significantly decrease. It would create an increase in certain jobs. Certain people would make more income because they have more knowledge of finances. They have more knowledge of how money works. Like, for example, freelancers, people that do like freelance work, like businesses, or like some businesses that are purely freelance, like let's say a graphic designer, that have their income off of selling direct to customers, not necessarily in a big business scale, so they would have more knowledge of certain things regarding like their own finances. So it would greatly help them. So imagine the world where there's a decrease in debt. That would mean there would be an increase in money for these people. They have more money that they're not throwing away because they don't know where it's going. Businesses would have more capital to grow. People would have more money to do more things in life. People would have more knowledge based on these economics, more knowledge of what they're doing, buying houses, on mortgages and such. And business people look for people who know how finance works because they know how to do things in business. This would lead to more people getting hired.
She's overtime.
Oh. All right. Thank you for the recognition. I hope you serve the government.
801. We know a couple of opposition with speech. 19 minutes with their spirit.
Thank you, Mr. Speakers, for the recognition. Today, we came here to debate the resolution, if it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. The case topic derived from this was all schools should require students to take at least one real-world finance class to graduate high school. Their link was understandable, and their first contention was that school is the only way to prepare students for the future. They take classes in high school to show their well-roundedness, and that some of these and the government had stated that some of these classes are not needed in the future. And yet, these same classes are what prepare us for the more advanced and higher-paying jobs in the future. High school classes, the government wanted to introduce a class that everyone will use in the future. Yet that's not necessarily true. If students take higher level classes and go into college very, very prepared, then they'll be making more money. Money even enough so that they won't even have to do their own taxes. If students focus on the studies that they have in high school, they can study in college and therefore pay off their debts in a faster amount of time and can hire people to do this stuff for them. Then they can focus on their job and do better at their job. The government said that in colleges, students are spending money on credits that are spending money on classes that they will use as part of their real-world financial steps. And by taking this and putting it into high school, you might be saving money, but you're also losing college credits. As a brother of someone who's in college, having enough credits to pass a year, to pass a semester, to pass 2 years, 4 years to graduate, to get a master's, is extremely important. You need these credits. And by taking them and putting them in high schools, you're losing that college credit. As well, if this class is taught and people know how to do their taxes, then people will lose jobs. The accountants who are doing these jobs for people will lose their jobs. They don't have anything to do when people are doing their own taxes. Their second contention was that mental health problems will be decreased. The government had said that they can calculate day to day, the students that take this class can calculate day to day what their expenses will be, and from day to week to month to year to year. Yet this isn't necessarily true. Even if you take a real-world finance class, you're still not going to have enough time in your day to go home, to plan out each and every meal, to plan out each and every thing you want to buy, to plan out how much you want to spend on a phone. There's just not that much time in the day. It's a lot easier to go through and then fix what you've done wrong in the future, rather than trying to calculate it all out before you do it. That's how we learn, by making mistakes and then progressing on. The government had also mentioned that students will not know how to manage their mortgage. And yet, in high school, if they're taking a class that teaches them about getting a job for the future, not necessarily finances, then the students will have higher paying jobs in the future. And as I said before, can hire someone else to do that job for them, and therefore increasing the income. The government blamed the crisis in the entire United States on the fact that people didn't know how to use their money. And it's just not that true. Now, they mentioned that they were putting too much money on houses, and that's true, but that's not necessarily an issue that can be fixed with one semester worth of class. Planning out an entire life doesn't come down to 90 days, or even 60 in a class. It's just not that simple. We need more knowledge about economics. I'm not going to disagree. But 60 days is not enough. Or even if it was 80 days, it's still not enough. Not all the students, the government mentioned that not all students have time enough the government said that some people have jobs, particularly in high school, and that not all students have time for these jobs in high school, and that from their jobs they learned a lot of these economic skills. And the issue with that I find is that I'm taking AP and honors classes as well as college prep classes, and I've even taken an elective and made it into a core class, and I still have time enough for a job and sports. Their third contention was that it would improve the economy. They said that they would have less personal debt, and yet this really can't be true because people still have to buy houses. Whether they can calculate an interest rate doesn't really matter. Banks will do it for you. They say you have a 3.56% rate on your mortgage. And you can go to another bank and ask them, what will my percentage be? It's just a game of subtraction. There's no class that you need that's going to do this, or that will help you immensely. All it takes is a little bit of effort and some quick comparisons. They also mentioned that college debt would go down. Again, students still need to go to college. And oftentimes, the more you spend on a college, the more recognized over the country it will be. So it makes sense that people want to go to more expensive colleges. And them knowing how much their interest rate on their loans will not make a huge difference. They still need to go to that college to get a good paying job. The government said that we are throwing away our money. This certainly isn't true. I, from experience, know that I track the money that I spent. And I didn't need a job to do it. I didn't have to take a class to know. But really, if someone's having that much trouble, we have a class for that. Micro and macroeconomics help, for sure. And statistics, again, help. So maybe we shouldn't focus on the fact that we're throwing away money and encourage kids to take classes that we already have. We, as the opposition, have created an alternate proposal that all schools should offer and require a class that teaches all life skills, not only financial. By only including the financial aspect of life in this class, it prevents them from learning about other aspects of life. Science, nor math, nor this class, nor gym really teaches anything about what life will be outside of high school. Students need more focus on more than just money and more than just numbers. We need to see life as a whole, and we need to be more well-rounded. Now, in that respect, I agree with the government that we need to be more rounded, but I don't think that this class will do that. It will only make us more money savvy. And being more money savvy is good, but it would all be ruined by the other things that we're not learning. For example, people can become very easily addicted by cigarettes, and it could be taught at an earlier age that this is not the way you need to spend your money, and there's better ways of spending it. And that the life class would teach them that not only the money is important, but there are other aspects as well. And with that, I thank you and close. I hope you urge with the opposition. Thank you.
838.
Now call member of government, the speech not exceed 80 minutes, with a 30-second grace period.
When you're ready, member of government.
Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Speaker. We are here today to discuss the resolution, if it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. And from this, we, the government, took the case topic, all schools should require students to take a at least one real-world finance class to graduate high school. Our first contention was that school is the only government-regulated way to ensure that students and teens and anyone has a secure future, and that's prepared for it. We said that some classes were not needed, and you said that they are needed because they prepare us for higher paying jobs. But that's a narrow perceivation, or whatever, way to perceive it. I got this. While many classes are necessary, the student can choose which ones are necessary. For example, somebody wanting to go into art won't need to take, say, physics. Or somebody wanting to go into more scientific fields won't need to take English. Or the American Lit, or whatever the subdivision of that is. It was said that taking these classes would lead to higher paying jobs, which would lead to them paying off debt faster. But that's only relevant if they take classes that are relevant to the job they seek to pursue. If they take classes that don't matter to their job, then they're arguably just wasting their time. Our second contention was that it might be saving money, but you're losing college credits. But you're forgetting that this is a national thing. If every single student in America all lose 1 credit, then across the board, it doesn't matter to colleges because everyone is equal in this loss. They can, if they wish to, just decrease the number of credits necessary to get into this college. Or if they wish to make it more difficult, they can keep it the way it is. You argued that people would lose jobs, like accountants. And this is true, but it's also a sign of progress. You did say that. When people lose jobs like this, it's a sign of the human race progressing as a whole. When we started using cars instead of horses, we did not feel bad for the horses, but we felt good because we were progressing as a whole. The horses are now a lost business. The horse wranglers, the cowboys are gone. But that's fine, because we as a whole have progressed. We also said that mental health decreased. You said that no one can calculate expenses every single day because nobody has time to do this, and that it's a lot easier to go through and then fix it later. We never said you need to calculate it every day, but you do need to have a plan in order to be financially stable. You need to be aware of your budget, and you need to ensure that you don't run out of money simply because you're not educated enough, as many people often do. Student loans is one of the greatest issues today because colleges cost so much. Students need to know, and their families need to know, that they might not be able to afford the college that they want to go to just because it's their favorite college and it looks nice, or it's famous. You said that the government blamed the housing crisis of 2007 to 2009 on people's ignorance, which, yeah, they did, because it was due to people's ignorance. Had they not bought houses that they couldn't afford, the housing crisis very well might not have happened, and it probably would not have. It was due to a lot of people suddenly wanting to sell their houses and not being able to because no one was looking to buy. You said that because you take so many difficult classes, and because you have the time to have a job, that everyone does. But this is definitely not the case across the board. There are so many people that I know, and you probably know as well, that stay up to somewhere like 12 or 1 a.m. just so that they can finish work, just so that they can succeed in school. You might do well, but that doesn't mean other people do. It's difficult. You said that this wouldn't decrease debt because people need houses. But people don't need houses. People can live in apartments. People can live in any number of cheaper things. People can have roommates. Just because people see people living in houses, they shouldn't see that as the norm. Because people who are just going into college or just leaving college need to know that if a house is expensive and they can't afford it, they shouldn't try to afford it. They shouldn't try to pay what they can't buy. You said that just taking this one class would not help at all. It might not help much, but it's the first step to awareness that the growing issue of people not knowing what to do with their money or how to manage their money is a huge issue. It's a very large issue because student loans, everyone has student loans. Anyone who can't immediately afford college has student loans. Sorry, not everyone has student loans. Anyone who's gone to college likely has student loans. The vast majority of America has student loans. I misspoke, I apologize. And you also said that if you spend more money on college to get into the more famous colleges, then America seems better off. I'm not sure how that was relevant, but it's not true.
Point where? That's not what I said. I said you can get a more respectable job by going to a more respectable college. Not that America would be better off.
Claim not taken under consideration.
I apologize. That's also true, but in a way that's kind of an exaggeration of it. It's not, if you go to Cornell, you get this job. You could also get that job by going to a poor college, it's just more difficult. But it also means that you won't have huge financial issues later on if you don't try to pay for a college that you can't afford and predict incorrectly how much money you're going to make. You said that people aren't throwing away. No, you said that we said that people are throwing away money, and people are throwing away money. Accountants are important, yes, but as we already went over, they're the product of an obsolete society. They're a product of uneducated people who don't need that. You said that taking micro and macro helps, and it does, but I would assume that not a majority of students take micro macro just because they know they want to get to college, and taking micro macro wouldn't help. And you said that all schools should have a life skills class, and that this singles it out. But yes, that would help. But the most important issue right now is financials, and that is what we need to focus on. People do need to be more well-rounded, and people do need to know that cigarettes being bad. Everybody knows that cigarettes are bad from health class, and people are more rounded already. They just need this edge because this is currently the most important. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. I hope you side with the government today.
831. Now, member of opposition.
Stand up.
Speech not exceeding.
Oh, yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah, there was 1 second.
Speech not exceeding 8 minutes, 30 second grace period.
There was 1 second left. It was.
I said 14 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. Today we're debating a resolution. If it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. So I'd like to start off by saying that there are real-world financing classes. There's personal finance, there's statistics, microeconomics. There's plenty of life skill financing classes. To go off the first contention, I would like to say you can pay people to do taxes, and you said that accountants are obsolete and uneducated, right? So
I did not.
You did. You said that.
Point of order. I did not say that accountants are uneducated. I said that they're the product of an uneducated society who don't know how to do their taxes.
Want to take it into consideration?
So if that is what if you're teaching life skills and the accountants are doing, if you pay accountants to do taxes, that means that you're paying them to do the life skills that your classes teach. And that means that you're teaching people the uneducated society that you claim. You'll be teaching them that. And if it's so obsolete, then why are you teaching it to people? Why do you want to create a class to teach people? Second of all, colleges, they don't, when kids go to college, they offer classes that are kind of like life skills. They offer classes that can teach you how to read legal documents and all these taxes. Also, you said that in your first contention, you said that if they take a credit away from all of the schools by having everyone take the life skills class, that credit will not count for private schools. This is only something that can mandate against public schools that are government run. So you cannot, under any circumstances, force a private school to teach a life skill class and take a credit away. If they also, you said that they might not be able to get jobs because they can't perform the life skills, or they can't fit the time in. But many people in this school take other classes and they're able to go to jobs, and they still have time afterwards to fill out homework, and they can probably fill out their taxes and their manage all their money because they have a job and they've been taught these skills and their parents pass it down. Also, some jobs that you need to know taxes and these life skills will teach you. They will teach you the life skill if you don't know or you need a little touch up on it. They will most likely teach you. Now, your second contention, you said that jobs or people will be more aware of their budget, but most people are aware of their budget. People who have money are aware of what they have in their bank account. And people are aware of how much they can spend by how much they have in their bank account. Also, if, like I said, they take the personal finance class that we have in our school, they can know how to manage their budget, know what to do with the money, when to deal with it. And secondly, you said you said that people could get other forms of housing, like apartments, or they could get any other form of housing really, but also apartments still cost a lot of money. They're not cheap. They cost a monthly amount, and if you're staying in that apartment for a long time, it could eventually add up to the cost of a house, and people will still buy apartments that are more expensive than they can afford. And if they do this, then the taxes they will know how to pay off, and the budget they will know how to pay off. Okay, I'm going to fix that. Now you said people will not have time. If you said that people like Isaac who take all these classes, you know several people that stay up till 1 in the morning doing work. Now, if there are people who are staying up to do 1 in the morning doing work, they need to manage their time better, because that means that from after school they've had 13 hours after school to get all this work done. It should not take 13 hours to get work done. Most of the kids that stay up till 1 a.m. either they go right when they get home, they take a nap, they eat, they do stuff for about 6 or 7 hours, maybe even 10. They might do that for 10 hours and then say, oh dear, I forgot to do something, and then at 12 o'clock at night